Best of r/Tales from Retail episode 59. When this story occurred, I had just landed a promotion and was the supervisor for my department. Now there is a caveat to that statement. I was the supervisor for a department that was at present without a manager. So I was that fun bad spot of dealing with all the manager stuff while being a supervisor. Fun times, right? I mean, it's partly my own fault because I can't leave a problem unaddressed regardless of what my actual job is. Because of this, I got a lot more familiar with the operations manager as she was the next person in order up from my non-existent manager. Now you have to understand that this manager was considered to be a super bitch by the staff because she was super strict about policy and hours. I had never had any issue with her before this point. Well, no issue beyond getting a talking to every time I went over my hours for the week. Not a write-up, mind you, but an official notice that you had been talked to regarding hours and company policy. This may have been a means to have a paper trail in case they needed to fire someone, but in the 3 years I worked there, I was never aware of them firing anyone. That wasn't a problem. Anyway, the end of my first week as a supervisor, there had been an issue that I had to deal with, and because of it I had clocked an extra 40 minutes that week. She had that Sunday off, and I had the Monday off. The next day we both worked would be Tuesday, so I knew I was going to get an official notice from her Tuesday, probably as soon as I clocked in. I wasn't looking forward to it. Monday afternoon I was chatting with the warehouse manager about it, and he mentioned that he knew I was a reliable worker, and that I just had to kind of weather her notices about hours. But if I wanted to score some brownie points, her favorite drink was sugar-free Red Bull. I took the hint and after work I swung by the store and picked up a case of sugar-free Red Bull. I came in Monday morning, go right to her office. She is going over the hours report, making notes about overages. Perfect. I walk right up to her desk and proceed to plop the case of Red Bull on the desk right in front of her. She looks down at the case, then looks up at me and asks what the Red Bull was for. Well, I clocked some overtime last week, and if you're going to kick my butt, I want to make sure you've got the energy to do it right. I respond. She busts out laughing for a solid minute and finally says, "You're good. Just keep track of your hours." Thank you. Next. There was a do-over sale of 20% this weekend for my company because of low sales from the previous week, and sometimes we get so wrapped up with the phone ringing, customers with questions, kids spinning out, bagging carousel, among other things, I forgot to give a woman the 20% from the sale, which I swear up and down that I gave her. So during the entire transaction for the current customer she stood there tapping her foot in front of my bagging carousel while I scanned the current customer's items. I called for another employee to come to the front desk to correct my error while I was in the middle of a transaction with someone else, but the woman wouldn't budge and continued tapping her foot and huffing. The woman I was serving was very nice, by the way. Learned she was taking an extended snowcation from northern Canada and she was a retired nurse. I'm not entirely sure what transpired from that point because I tuned the other woman's existence out completely. The two transactions ended roughly about the same time, and I swear I heard the impatient woman say something along the lines of, "It's a good day when you have a job ripping off people." On her way out. I don't get it. You got your money back and it was a small mistake on my part. It isn't like her request was refused. I just got someone else to help her while I was ringing up another customer. Thank you. Next. So I've been a cashier for about 6 months now and it's generally been pretty chill. I get angry customers once in a while and I'm usually able to diffuse the situation without having to bend over backwards to make the customers happy too. I don't like letting customers get away with their crap just because they don't want to read sales signs properly. So today a woman and her daughter come up and I go through the usual routine. When I tell her the price she tells me that there's a sign that says all pet beds are 50% off, so hers should be too. Now I hear this all the time with a bunch of other items in the store, and I know for a fact that sales signs will also say to look for a red line through the barcode and slash or a red clearance tag. Of course her items had none of those things on them. I politely tell her that below the 50% off signs it tells you what you need to look for, and only select items are clearance. This lady is adamant about the signage, and that the sign only says 50% off. So why is her item full price? My go-to line is usually, "I'm sorry sir/ma'am, but I have no control over what the sign says." What I do know is, store policy 1, clearance items Would you like to go back and find one on sale? And I know it's only select pet beds because I had to deal with this same problem a week ago. I can only get the first part of my lines out before she just fucking loses it. That's not what I was implying, bitch. I know you can't control the sign. And keeps on ranting about how I have a bad attitude. At this point I'm done with her BS and just finish the transaction on her other items without saying anything to her, which I guess pisses her off more. BC as she walks off she just keeps ranting about my attitude and how I'm a bitch that must hate my job. All I do is tell her to have a nice day and go on with my work while I'm trying to hold back my rage tears. This lady goes to my co-worker on the next register and demands to speak to a manager, and when the manager comes up she rants to them about me and my bad attitude and the stupid item. Manager then checks the price of the pet bed with her scanner and what a shocker, it's not on sale. Lady looks at me crying and just walks off like she didn't just make a huge scene in a store full of people that saw all of it happen. JFC. I'm lucky my managers and director are really great people and let me go home to cool off. BC I just could not get myself to calm down after that. I was just seeing red at that point and I'm the type that cries when pissed off, which is just embarrassing. LOL. Thank you. Next. This happened like 9 years ago at this point. I've always had a young looking face. It's a blessing and a curse. I'll likely be ID'd until I'm 76 or something. Anyway, at the time I was 19 and working as a bagger for the local grocery store. I usually worked the morning shift since I was one of the few clerks with morning availability. I was helping this nice older lady. She had to have been in her 80s or maybe older. She was pretty small and struggled to push her overloaded cart. I bagged her goods and offered her help to her car. She was very eager to have me help her, calling me a sweetheart. We roll out to the parking lot and she has parked hella far out. As we get about halfway I finally start listening to what this lady is talking to me about. She has a grandson about me age and she knows he couldn't work as hard as she saw me work. She was so shocked that I had a job and my parents let me work during school hours. Nice old lady. Honey, you know you really should be in school right now. It's wrong for them to pull you out of school. Me. What? Nice old lady. I know kids usually have jobs but you can't be a day over 13. I'm certain they can't pull you from school like this for work. Me. Well, the thing is I'm 19. I graduated about a year ago, so I don't really think they mind if I work. She was very apologetic about the mix-up but didn't believe I was older than 15. I still laugh about the mix-up and joke that I was nearly kidnapped with good intentions. Thank you. Next. So I work at a convenience store / gas station. The backstory here. This guy comes into the store asking us to call 911, hour before my shift was about to end. My shift manager is standing next to me at the time this happened when he came in along with one other customer in the store. I called 911. So while I am on the phone with 911, he begins to put his hand in his shirt, both top and bottom, but he was also shaking at the time. At this point we get a chair for him to sit down on, just to get him calmed down. I am explaining to the 911 person on the phone here is what that transpired. Me. HT. Guy with heart attack. 911 operator. SM. My shift manager. C. Customer. E1. EMT1. E2. EMT2. I need an ambulance to street 1. Okay. How old is this guy? At this point I ask for his age, name and all that. Fast forward to 2 minutes later. I am still on the phone and the fire whistle goes off. We are about maybe 1/4 from the fire station. He then proceeds to standing up and is just going up and down in his seat. At this point he then stands up and goes to our bathroom. I was just kinda confused at this point, wondering why he was going to the bathroom. SM. Where'd he go? M and C. He just went into the bathroom. At this point we are walking toward the bathroom thinking he was trying to do something to our bathroom or even trying to flush something he shouldn't have had. He then proceeds out of the bathroom and sit on the chair. At this point HT is just continuously going up and down in the chair. The one then asked me if he had been at another gas station down the road. 10 minutes, and I asked him if he had been there and said yes but did nothing for me. So now M and SM are confused on why he didn't stay there. At this point I get off the phone with one. He asks me if they are coming. M, SM, and C are assuring him they are coming as fast as they can. He then asks me to call the one back, and telling me he was getting worse, but to me he wasn't in my opinion. About 2 minutes later the ambulance, I pass their barracks on my way to where I work, finally shows up, and about 30 seconds later the fire engine, mostly a pickup truck, shows up. I then have the EMTs take over from there. Here is the convo as I overheard. Some of it may not be correct. E1, hey IIHT. E2, we know who you are. We aren't going to keep running around. You were at this place earlier and now you're here. You're going to hospital. HT, but I need to go too. E1, well that's not an option bud. You're going to the other hospital, way on the other side of where he wanted to go. Spoiler alert, he actually went to this hospital 3 times before the same day and checked himself out. HT, no, I am not going to that hospital. He then gets up and walks out the door. E1, hey man, you're not going to do this again. We told you this before, you're not going to go to the other hospital. HT guy gets into what appeared a black car and proceeded to the street, nearly hitting me and the sidewalk and other customers near the pumps. He drives onto the street, nearly hitting another car and running over the curb and having trouble driving. We can't stop anybody from leaving, and then drives off into the wind. After about 2 minutes later one of our POs show up. It's property police. They are allowed to pull people over on the road, but they don't like to do that, and in the midst of it comes over and asked if I called 911. I told him yes, and then E1 and E2 proceed to tell us he isn't who he is and gave us an unreal name and not correct age. At this point, I am flabbergasted on all the trouble that this has gone through. I tell you, some people just don't learn. Thank you. Next. Hello. I've just joined this subreddit and have some excellent stories of my time working at a shoe store that sells exclusively larger size shoes for men and women. Today, I had a customer come in and start browsing. I greeted them, and instantly saw they were most likely too small to fit into our sizes. This happens multiple times a day, as we're located in a prominent shopping district. Our signs do state our sizing, but people still wander in. The exchange went as follows. Me, good morning, can I give you a hand with sizing? Customer, yeah, I'd like to try this on in an 8. Me, I'm very sorry, we are actually a specialist store and we don't stock an 8, it's 10 and up. Customer, what does that mean? Me, staring blankly, we specialize in extended sizes, we don't carry anything below a 10. Customer, so I can't try this on in an 8? Me, sorry, number, not here. You might be able to try it in another store. Customer, well, if 10 is your smallest size, I'll try the 10. Me, okay, I'll go and get that. I go out the back and realize the smallest size we have left in stock in 12. 5. I go back out to the floor. Me, I'm sorry, I've only got a 12. 5 left, nothing smaller. Customer, this is discrimination. Why would you only carry shoes for freaks? Me, biting my tongue, as I don't fit into regular shoe stores. I'm sorry you feel that way. Customer, you've lost a customer. I would have gotten so many shoes, and she stormed off. I just wanted to yell after her, we don't want you here anyway. Thank you. Next. I used to work in a stationery shop in the UK that gets a lot of customers from the older generations, and a lot from regular customers that come in every day to buy their newspaper and lottery tickets. There was one man, henceforth called Bicycle Man, in particular that I often chatted to as I served him. He would like to complain about this and that, with a too confident attitude and a belief that everyone else was wrong. However, Bicycle Man was quite amiable and loved a chat, so I didn't think much of him. On this particular day, I was serving an older lady who was buying lottery tickets, and Bicycle Man was behind her in the queue with his wife. The lady paid for her tickets and got halfway out of the shop before she turned around and asked, "Actually, could I have my receipt?" By this point, I was halfway through scanning Bicycle Man's items through the till, so I cancelled the transaction and retrieved the receipt for the woman. I don't remember the exact words, but this is a pretty good rendition of what happened. Bicycle Man, excuse me. Receipt lady, I'm just getting my receipt. Bicycle Man, this lady was serving me. You had your chance. Receipt lady, the girl didn't give me a receipt. I need it. Bicycle Man, it's very rude to interrupt someone mid-transaction. You should have waited until later. Receipt lady, You're very rude. There's Bicycle Man. I'm very rude. I'm very rude. Just leave. Go on. You've got your receipt now. About this time the gentleman behind him started trying to calm the situation down, and Bicycle Man started arguing with him as well. Receipt lady didn't want to leave until she had the last word. It was absolute chaos. 3 seniors yelling full force at each other in the middle of the shop. The last I heard was Bicycle Man shouting with absolute fury, "And yes, I am older than you." I honestly thought they were about to start punching each other. Geez guys, you're all 65 plus years old and I'm dealing with children arguing over a receipt. Needless to say, Bicycle Man spent the next few days apologizing for the other woman's behavior at every opportunity and lamenting how rude and uncivilized she had been towards me.